We at Credit360 Credit Repair want to welcome you to our family. Today, we will be giving you the roadmap to what makes up a perfect 850 credit score. We want to let you know that credit scores are broken up into 5 categories. Your score ranges from 300 to 850 on the widely used FICO scoring model. This means you have 550 points to play with, so let's break those down 5 parts and explain how to maximize that 550 point margin. Payment history. The first part of your score is your payment history, which accounts for 35% of your credit score. In a range of 550 points, 35% of that is approximately 192.5 points. Factors such as paying your bills on time, collections, and charge-offs also account towards your payment history. The first thing any lender wants to know is the timeliness of your past and current payment history. This is one of the most important factors in building a strong credit score. A few late payments are not automatic score killers. An overall good payment history can outweigh 1 or 2 late payments. However, having no late payments on your credit report doesn't mean you'll get a perfect score either. Your payment history is just one of the categories used in calculating your credit scores. So yes, if you pay all of your bills on time and did not get any collections or charge-offs, you should maximize all 192.5 points in this category. Utilization ratio. The next category is your credit utilization ratio, which accounts for 30% of your credit score. 30% of the 550 point margin is 165 points. Therefore, it's very important that you have a revolving account, which is a credit card or a store card, to make sure the balance you carry on it is very low. Most people will recommend at least 30% or lower. However, we recommend a balance less than 10% on credit cards. We have seen people go from an 800 credit score to below the 700s simply by maxing out one of their credit cards. If you're not paying your credit cards on time or are maxing them out, you can lose up to 165 points if you're not careful. We always recommend getting credit cards, but we also recommend being responsible with them. That's why it's always good to have at least 2 to 3 open credit cards. Keep the utilization ratio low on each will help you to ensure you use credit for emergency purposes only. Practicing this habit daily will make you more responsible with your credit. Remember, banks love lending money to responsible borrowers. Average age of credit. That takes us to the next category, average age of credit, which is 15% of your score and is based on your existing credit accounts. The age of credit is dependent upon your oldest account, how long you have been using credit, and the average age of accounts that you have open right now. That makes up 15% of your score, or 82.5 points. So you want to be very careful with opening credit cards and closing them once the balance is paid off. If you do have credit cards and you are being responsible with them, once you pay the balances off, you do not want to close those accounts unless the cost of annual fees are more of a burden than keeping that credit card open. However, if you open and maintain your first credit card since college, that will actually help your age of credit because banks and lenders will look at you as a more responsible borrower. If you can have credit cards open for 10 years or longer, you will be seen as more trustworthy. This is exactly the reason why when you pay your mortgage or car loans off early, it's great for your payment history, but it could cause a ding in the average age category. So make sure that you can take care of those older accounts. They're more valuable than you may think. Credit inquiries. Now let's look at the next category, credit inquiries, which accounts for 10% or 55 points of your overall score. You do not want to keep applying for new credit because banks look at that as a risk. If you open or apply for a credit card today at Wells Fargo, even with a 800 score, it may be harder to get one tomorrow at Bank of America because of the Wells Fargo credit inquiry. This is why banks usually want to wait 60 days to 90 days before giving you new credit after recent inquiries. They're skeptical and not sure if the prior lenders gave you credit just days before. This is why you want to make sure you never apply for things unless you really need credit other than a credit card. However, if you do have a credit card, it's a lot easier to ask for a credit limit increase with a good score than to keep doing damage by applying for a new one. Every hard inquiry you have is responsible for taking points off your credit score, which could potentially lead up to losing all 55 points. So you want to make sure you're not applying for new credit constantly. Types of credit. The last category is types of credit, which accounts for 10% or 55 points of your credit score. This is where we really like to explain that you want to make sure you have at least 3 open credit cards and 2 installment loans open. Credit cards and lines of credit are the 2 most common forms of revolving credit. With revolving credit, Your credit limit does not change when you make payments on your credit account. You can return to your account to borrow additional money as often as you want, as long as you do not exceed your maximum limits. However, installment credit is paid back with scheduled, periodic payments involving the gradual reduction of principal and eventual full repayment, ending the credit cycle. Some of you may have open student loans, or you may have them paid off, which are still counted as installment loans. Accounts such as car notes and personal loans also fall under the installment loan category. The utilization category is not affected by installment loans, but it can really begin to establish your good payment history. If you have installment loans, revolving accounts, open-end accounts, and mortgage accounts, you can maximize a full 10% in this category, which is approximately 55 points. Quick recap. To give a quick recap, 35% of your score is your payment history, which is 192.5 points. 30% of your score is utilization, which is 165 points. 10% of your score is inquiries or new credit that you're applying for, which is 55 points. 10% of your score is the types of credit, which is 55 points. With this roadmap to a perfect 850 credit score, at any given time you should be able to understand if you're losing points or what category you're gaining them from. We've seen clients lose points and think that is our fault when it is not due to them maxing out their credit cards. So, the key is making sure that you're paying all your bills on time, making sure you're not applying for new credit unless needed, and not maxing out your credit cards. Thank you, and we look forward to you having success with obtaining an 850 credit score.